Rapid COVID test missed over 50% of positive cases in pilot. In the hospital I'm at, they say don't trust a negative but trust a positive. As someone getting tested weekly, there has to be a massive margin of error due staff not doing it correctly. The brain swab actually has to be left up there for a couple of seconds, not just in and out. The nasal swab is often not touching the entirety of my nose. I actually prefer to do it myself. This article does not have the information that are needed. Why is it claimed that it has 50% false negatives in this case but only 20% in validation testing? What's the reason, even just a suspected one, for this? It's known that PCR finds as positives even people that have/had COVID but are not contagious anymore. If these are the one missed, that might not be an issue. If it's contagious ones, it's a whole another issue. This is fundamental to understand whether these tests are useful or not. I had a rapid test and it came back negative. The swab was in and out of both nostrils in about half a second. I don't think they got a very accurate sample. I got results back in 30 minutes, which I thought was odd too. I got worse the next day and I'm 99% sure I actually had it. Pain in my chest, exhaustion, coughing, headaches and nausea. I couldn't do anything for a week and then it took another week and a half before I felt normal again. I'm only 24 and it knocked me on my ass. There is some confusion flying around this thread. Lots of people seem to be mixing up terms or concepts. Typically when we use the term rapid for testing, we are referring to antigen, virus protein, detection, and not the traditional PCR testing where the virus RNA is extracted and then attempted to be replicated. Antigen testing can be dramatically cheaper, and faster, and typically wouldn't need to go to a lab. You might be able to do saliva-based paper strips, or you might be able to insert some saliva into a small machine. On the other hand, PCR tests really need hardcore lab machinery to run. They are hunting for tiny fragments of DNA/RNA and trying to expand them out. So even if you've encountered fast PCR tests to date, they are still in a different ballpark than rapid tests. Why does this matter? Antigen testing is theoretically much cheaper. It could be on the order of $1 per test. PCR testing is much more like $100 per test. Even if you did not pay for it, someone did, which really limits the capacity of tests that can be performed. This means with antigen testing we could get some places testing every person, almost every day, for far less than even 1 to 2 PCR tests. Because of this approach, a reduction in sensitivity/specificity isn't a bad thing. On the population level, the significantly higher number of tests is making up for the missed positives. We can use the positive antigen tests to truly isolate/quarantine the newly infectious individuals. What you can't do is expect for antigen testing to clear you to participate in risky behavior. It doesn't tell you you're virus-free, it just tells you that you don't have massive loads of virus protein right now. Over time this problem goes away because the significantly lower cost of antigen tests means we can test every day and someone who was missed today will likely be caught tomorrow when their viral load is higher. Why does all this matter? We're learning a couple of things. The first is that this virus is particularly explosive in its growth when you're presymptomatic. That means you are mostly shedding virus and infecting others before you've felt anything. In order for our population to stop the infectious spread, this means we really need to be testing healthy people the most. Because most people are healthy, this means we need a boatload of cheap tests that everyone can take every day. PCR tests just don't scale enough, and are expensive and time-consuming and lab-constrained, so restricting them to only sick individuals doesn't help us much. We've also learned that they are tending to only identify the virus in people who are no longer infectious. By giving them to people who are only symptomatic, we are mostly now testing people who are on the downswing of the viral count. On the other hand, by being less sensitive, antigen tests actually have this nice property where those who were testing positive were actually the ones who were most likely to be highly infectious. So we're getting the most bang for the buck on the positives we do find. To really get things under control, we need to test everyone often, and still observe safe behaviors, distancing and masks, meanwhile. And we need to treat antigen tests like a way of hunting for virus, not for clearing individuals. This is what the White House got wrong. Even after you get a negative antigen test, you still need the mask. For more information about this kind of stuff, look up Michael Mina at Harvard. That's the same percentage of questions I missed on my test. Can we tag this as misleading? 1. They're stating it as fact even though it's been validated and the ones using it disagree. 2. It's one type of rapid test, and the headline doesn't specify that. 3. As others have stated, collection is very important. Source have run and done validations on COVID rapid lab tests, Work Medical Lab. Washington University developed a fairly rapid COVID test that's just saliva that seems to be pretty accurate. If, as some commenters here claim, I couldn't find it scanning the article, the test doesn't give false positives, only false negatives, then this is still a decent-ish result. To be able to rapidly find 50% of the positives in a group, and those are the ones who are the most infective too, is still very useful. Edit, to clarify, my comment was mainly meant to oppose the many comments comparing the results to coin tosses, which are far from the truth. Can you teat them 3 or 4 times to improve the odds? Our current rapid test is a thermometer. I suspect this is at least an improvement. This can still be used as an initial fast test, but if it comes up negative, you should be tested in a different way. Think of it like an instant pregnancy test. Sometimes they'll come negative and a woman might still be positive. But it's good for all positive cases it found, just not all negative cases it found. Which is where more extensive testing can come in. I am so hopeful for rapid testing. Once it's reasonably accurate, it will be safe to be in normal situations again. Even if it took 15 minutes for an answer, I could wait in an outdoor staging area and then go on a plane or into an indoor area if I knew everyone else tested negative too. Mostly though I want this for my BJJ gym. I miss rolling but need to know the crew isn't sick before we can get on a mat. It sounds like a lot of people aren't reading the article. This rate was an outlier. Most studies on antigen, rapid, COVID tests have much higher accuracy rates. They're certainly not as accurate as RT-PCR testing, but probably closer to 80% than 50%, and likely higher in symptomatic carriers, so unfortunately a useless test. Might as well flip a coin instead. As long as the 50% positives aren't false positives, this is better than nothing. LMAO, remember when Western media went out of their way to shit on China for China's rapidly developed, produced, and deployed test kits missing 20% of cases and therefore not being compliant with our superior, enlightened, democratic, free, Christian testing standards? Remember how the UK and other countries blamed China for the failure of their COVID-19 response and everything else and called China evil? The UK even shat on China's products getting used in other countries. https://www. Independent, co. UK/news/world/Asia/coronavirus China test Europe ANIT body antigen Spain UK A9443186. HTML, even though no other country even offered alternative testing, yet. The Western world took longer to ship them out and they are equally bad and they are making excuses for themselves. LMFAO.